Hello everyone, Mr. Nacho here, and today I'm extremely excited to bring you a new build since the last patch has finally fixed the Monarch, the Anguish and the dot damage. We'll just take them one by one and we will start with the Monarch today, but we will take a look at the two others later on. So there are a few ways that you can build Monarch right now that would be very easy to play on Apocalypse, will deal high amounts of damage, and some of them will be more lifesteal oriented, some of them will be oriented on just toughness and HP regeneration and so on. So without further ado, let's start. The first setup that I have for you is Egg, which is the Whispering Marble, and it's paired up very nicely with the Dried Clay Ring. And then we have a standard setup of Xania's Malice and Probability Cord, and since we have about 80% crit chance, we also have the Devoured Loop. This will make it so we will have our Bullet Storm extremely quickly back whenever we use it, and sometimes we'll be able to chain them back to back together, just one after the other. These are the Relic Fragments, which is range crit damage, crit chance, and range damage. You are welcome to just change the range damage as well for the fire rate. And of course, on the Monarch, we have momentum, simply because it shoots extremely quickly and we'll be able to stack up momentum in no time. So we will get all of the benefits very, very quickly. Also, you might be able to just change the Gunslinger to the Challenger if you prefer the Rampage skill. And if you want to engage enemies at a closer distance, it will be much more efficient to just go with Challenger and the Rampage skill. It will increase further our crit chance by another 5%, so we'll be at about 85%. And we are also extremely tanky, even though we have the Devoured Loop on, thanks to the 4 Bulwark stacks and the Bark Skin trait. We are at 60% total DR. When it comes to the next setup, yeah, it's still bleeding. This is the Nightweaver's Grudge and the Atonement Fold setup. There is no other difference really other than we changed the Egg and the Dried Clay Ring for this combo of Nightweaver and Atonement. We still have momentum on this. Now we are at 105% crit chance, so we'll be able to crit every single shot, which will proc our Devoured Loop even more often. And yet again, you are welcome to just change the Gunslinger to the Challenger if you'd like, if you like the Rampage skill a little bit more. The next setup that we have is a little bit different. It will have a little bit less crit chance, but it will be almost guaranteed to proc it every single time, since we will have the Abrasive Whetstone and Twisting Wounds. And on top of that, we will have the Akari Warband. This will make it so we don't really take any bleeding damage, and the bleeding doesn't reduce our health that we get back from the Tranquil Heart and the Regrowth and Triage, so we'll just be healing more. We'll have a different type of dealing damage, which is the Twisting Wounds and Abrasive. We'll have to dodge a little bit more to proc the Akari Warband as well. But other than that, the setup stays extremely consistent. We also have the Xania's Probability Cord and the Devoured Loop. Also, the Devoured Loop is entirely optional in any single one of those builds. If you don't feel like going for the Devoured Loop, you might as well just want to go for something like the Stone of Expanse, or maybe even the Burden of the Departed, or you could also go for the Blackout Ring. All of those choices are perfectly acceptable. And the last setup that we have is the most defensive one, which is the Neckbone Necklace, Atonement Fold, and we might as well also change the Devoured Loop or the Hardcore Metal Band. So we will be at 5 stacks of Bulwark. We'll have permanent 25% increased damage. We'll also take less damage from any status effects, 50%, and we will still have a very high crit chance, and we'll still have a very high damage. We still have momentum on here, so this will be just a very, very good setup if you want to play a little bit more defensively and still keep the good damage going. When it comes to the traits, we have Triage and Regrowth, simply because they are very good whenever you want to heal back, even though we have the Atonement Fold on, which causes bleeding and reduces our healing. We'll still get the half of the benefits of all of the healing that we invest in, and we have plenty of points to spend, so that's okay. The next thing is the Fortify, which increases armor effectiveness by 50%, which is huge since we'll be at 66% total DR with all of the Bulwark stacks and no Devoured Loop and the Bark Skin. We are extremely tanky in this setup. Then we have strong back, 3 points, so we can just equip the entire Crimson Guard set and still be at a medium weight. Next up, we have vigor, so we have more HP, expertise to reduce the skill cooldowns, Bark Skin, as previously mentioned, Siphoner to get some HP back, since the Monarch will shoot extremely quickly and it will shoot a lot of pellets or bullets or whatever the projectiles really are, and it will heal us back a little bit. And then we have Footwork, so we can just keep on going and keep DPSing and not have to really worry about dodging all that much. And the last thing is Handling, simply because we want to have the gun not kick as much as it really does on the longer ranges, especially if you want to change the shooting mode of the Monarch, which I will get to in a moment. Also, on all of the setups that you have the Atonement Fold on, you might want to consider the Alchemy Stone as well, simply because it will just give you 6% of lifesteal, and especially if you have points invested into Siphoner as well, this will be 9% of lifesteal, and this will help keep you in good health for most of the fights. Okay, so let's go and test the egg setup, for example, and explain how the Monarch itself works. So the way the Monarch works is that you have two shooting modes. One would be just this reticle, which will just shoot red pellets, and it just goes wherever you shoot. It has its travel time. It's not really the greatest on its own. And the other shooting mode is this little white circle. Is whenever you shoot it first, it will shoot a harpoon and it will mark the target. So now wherever you shoot, the bullets will just go automatically to the target. And whenever we fill up the bar, that's almost full at the moment, the green one, will hit the ground, do an AoE, and then it will empower all of our shots by 20%. So right now, what you want to do is basically just swap to the red pellets, simply because they deal more damage, and shoot manually at the target if they are close enough, or if they are far, you just want to go with the blue ones and make sure that you hit the target. Even though these do less damage, you are guaranteed to hit them, so it will still be more DPS you manage to hit all of those rather than using the red ones and missing some of them. Okay, so let's test the DPS on the offensive one. It's the egg build with the dried clay ring. We should be about 80% crit chance, and we are at 60% total DR. Let's see how it does. Yeah, as you can see, we are dealing a ton of damage. We already got our skills back. And you can just loop this infinitely. The dev loop should just be able to handle all of the cooldowns for us. Yet again, it just reset our cooldown for the bullet storm. So we can pop it again and just keep going to down. So this is the defensive setup. We were about 4000 damage. This is extremely good for it. If you just want to do as much damage as possible, then this would be the setup for you. And we might even want to go with the fire rate, simply because then we will have a higher chance to proc the devoured loop, because we will shoot more projectiles out there, and each projectile is 1% chance to reset our cooldowns, simply because we have 105% crit chance on this build. Let's compare this build with the egg build then. On this one we only have 47%, 48% LDR, which is 12% less, which is a lot less, but our damage should be a lot higher. Yeah, as you can see, we were easily at 4500. We got all of our skills back as well. We have haste on us thanks to the Nightweaver's Grudge, which also increases our fire rate by additional 7%. So this is way more damage than the egg build. When it comes to the Abrasive Whetstone setup, we have the Akari Warband on it, so we'll need to proc it ourselves. Right, it's procced. And let's see the damage. Whenever the Akari was procced, we were about 4,500 damage as well. So this is not really that much less damage, it's just a different way of getting it. If you are able to proc the Akari Warband consistently, it will not only give you 15% crit chance, but also 15% crit damage, which is extremely good. And let's test the last one. Okay, and let's test the damage for the neckbone necklace setup that we have, also with momentum. Let's go. It's again about 4,500, so this is an extremely good setup as well. You might want to, again, as I've said, change the Devoured Loop to the Hardcore Metal Band to have even more survivability. So you will get 5 Bulwark stacks because of the Atonement Fold. Other than that, it's just an extremely good setup as well. Alright, so this would be all for the introduction. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope that you enjoyed it. And I have some clips that I've prepared for you. Hope you will enjoy them as well. And have a great day.